Osante here NDC ni.
Sure.
Osante here MPP ni.
Sure.
Mini nyina yaka samba hwana beka.
Sure.
Mini yaka hwana beka.
Sure.
Ako prame choma Ghana ma me choma Asante ma.
Sure.
Ye be ye eden koso ni asomdwe beba.
Sure.
Ewajo edan eyedan ayeton ewo Ashanti region 5-bedroom uncompleted apartment ayeton na ewo Santasi Apari chese 5-bedroom apartment ho mfonyini ya efie no mfonyini na eda so no na ne ewumu ene se owura fie ho no mu a edan bia ewo na dwaye ensusu wo mu a chese kama pa asisia no eda border yeton ensusu ehonum Kumasi Ashanti region Santasi Apari eho na edan no ewo sisie ya mepacho yeton enso ehonum mepacho opese okọ na so ba behwehwe edan no woni gi ho se wota mepacho akwanya eda honum a obetimi aba na oni baba behia na fe yaka ama bibia nso eho bo no da fom boko enso so eho no number no na da screen so frɛ 0597193793 0597193793 ana se 0536703633 sa number si mienu no bia wo frɛ ya ubenya ye na woni ya twetwe nkomo me se 5-bedroom apartment uncompleted ewo Santasi Apari achese ewo nice location ayeton enti wo a wo pe e kan say edan ato akwanya wo se oni ehia na bibia akoso enso so ewo 0597193793 and say 0593670333 eno ye number wo frɛ ya ubenya ye na oni atwetwe nkomo na afei bebia wo bia no ye no ahia Orova mo akaba na memfa umra unity kasa fo yire so o subscribe no share updates bi bebia no akere wadwin ama bibia so akoso kama ahwese enya asem ketwa kra na ye ka ho asem so ere amamo advert sem ni ade fafa 0554047264 so mi di dwuma bia no afre na bibia enso atimi akoso kama twese eno eye di fi hoba yedi nsem ede mamo e show no enso so asasi eton Ashanti region kwa beast asasi bia wo pebia obenya ato kundi ndi safo 0597193793 ofre na unom twetwenkoma obenya asasi bia ato na odi edi ujuma also odi bia enso so wono Alex Metal and stainless work background proof China doors remote control gate barristers ni ne ka ho no was a friend it was 0541901819 0541901819 now ni Alex Tito enjoying come Kumasi one crying out for so also wetinika na bibia akoso kama and all the free hold by don't say mama
PP1 to NDC2 and MPP2 have invested heavily in security and other measures with very limited success as the violence kept escalating. Within these developments, the Mamprusis in Bawku organized a funeral for the last deposed Mamprusi chief of Bawku, Na Tampuri Zambio, who had died in 1981, 40 years ago. The Kusasis in Bawku had objected to the performance of the funeral on the grounds that Na Tampuri Zambio had his chieftaincy recognition withdrawn by the passage of the Chieftaincy Restoration Status of Chiefs Law 1983, PNDC Law 75. Again, the Nairi of Mamprugu on 15 February 2023 at his palace in Nalarugu purported to enskin one Mr. Sedu Abagari as Bokunaba. This generated a violent reaction in Bawku and its environs. The government of President Nana Dankwa condemns developments in Nalarugu today, February 15, 2023. Concerning the purported enskinment of a new Bokunaba as illegal and a threat to national security. Government further reiterates that Naba Asugri Bugrabo Azoka is the Bawku Naba, duly gazetted and a member of the National and Upper East Regional House of Chiefs. The security agencies have therefore been directed to arrest and prosecute any other person who holds himself out as Bawku Naba. This statement was signed by Mr. Otumfour as Minister for Information. The government of Nana Addo Dankwa did not arrest Seydou Abagari. The government continued to reject as illegal what happened in Naregu and repeated same in another statement dated 28 October 2024 when Seydou Abagari returned to Bawku. The statement read in part, the return to Bawku on 24th October of Mr. Seydou Abagari, who was illegally ensconced as Bawku Naba in February 2023, subsequent to the vacation by the Court of Appeal sitting in Kusasi of the warrant for his arrest, has led to significant disturbances affecting public peace and security in the area. The government did not in any form or manner confer legitimacy on Mr. Seydou Abagari. As I indicated from the beginning, I was requested by of January endorsed, and I should endorse that I should proceed with finding an amicable resolution to the current situation. The parties in this has accorded me enormous respect and personally led this delegation at all times to my palace whenever invited. My brother, the Nairi, has for very good reason, sent a delegation of his elders and sub-chiefs at all times that I have requested him to come. They all express confidence in the process and believe that we will be able to work towards an amicable outcome. I started my engagement with my brother, the Nairi, by appealing to him to magnanimously. The Nairi made some concessions but gave some conditions for my consideration. And the Mamprusis who are now occupying those lands are his children. He observed that as a result of colonial interference and in the interference of Kusasis have asserted, the Kusasi claim has caused significant bloodshed between them and his Mamprusi children, and this has spread across the area and now poses a major national and international security threat. The Nairi detested that development and finds it most unfortunate that such bloodshed should occur among his children. He therefore sought an amicable compromise to end the feud and restore lasting peace. He said in part, be that as it may, in the interest of coexistence, peace and human dignity, my proposed solution in concessions is premised on the request from your Royal Majesty that I cede part of my jurisdiction in the Bawku traditional area to the Kusasi tribe, with the hope that a lasting and enduring peaceful resolution of the Bawku conflict will be achieved for all parties. The Nairi has been clear in his mind that his decision to make concessions has been a difficult one, but added that, nonetheless, guided by ancestral wisdom, commitment to peace, and respect for Your Majesty's tireless efforts, I have chosen the path of conciliation, not out of weakness, but traditional area. I had been inspired by the desire and commitment of my brother, the Nairi, to bring a peaceful end to the conflict in Bawku and its environs, and to define the best arrangements to accommodate all the different tribes and communities in the area. The Nairi outlined a set of proposals which form the basis of engagement that I have had with both sides, with the hope of finding a common ground. If a common ground emerged, it would enable them to reach an amicable resolution. With this historical understanding, I have impressed upon the Bawku Naba Asigri Abugrabu Azoka to acknowledge that at one time or another, the Nairi exercised traditional authority over the area that now constitute the Bawku traditional area. Abilities make it more pragmatic that we accept Kusasi rule over the area. With the past Supreme Court in Alhaji Ibrahim Adam Zambego versus Aninchema Abugrago and Attorney General, it will be untenable for anyone to hold that Asigri Abugrago Azoka is not the Bawku Naba and exercises jurisdiction over the entire Kusasi area. The Supreme Court shuts its doors to anyone seeking to have the matter revisited. It is important to note that PND's Law 75 was repealed alongside several laws and enactments by the Statute Law Revision Act 1996, Act 516. The long title of the statute Law Revision Act 1996, Act 516, which repealed the chieftains and enactments as indicated above, provides as follows: an act to repeal certain statutes that are no longer applicable or have become spent. It therefore appears that the Chieftaincy Restoration Statutes of Chiefs Law 1983 PND's Law 75, just like the other laws and enactments that were repealed by Act 316, were repealed because they had performed the purpose for which they were enacted and thus had become spent. Its repeal, therefore, did not the repeal of PND's Law 75 by Act 516 was to be maintained. Response to the Nairi's terms of concessions presented by him to me. Essentially, he asked for a number of towns in the Kusasi area to be transferred to him to Enskin. The impression created was that those towns would prefer to be under the Nairi essentially. The request was to have some of the towns brought under the jurisdiction of the Nairi. I decided to engage the chiefs of those towns. After meeting the various chiefs of the towns and communities affected by the withdrawal of recognition following the implementation of the Governor General's White Paper in 1957, on the recommendations of the Afari Committee, the withdrawal of the recognition occasioned by the NLC Decree 112 and PNDC Law 75, I have come to the conclusion that there has been significant settlement of the Nairi as one of the towns that the Mamprusi wanted to be given to the Nairi. Unfortunately, the law as it stands now makes Asigri Abugrago Azoka the lawful chief of Bawku, and so it is impossible legally to do any such thing in this mediation exercise. On the question of Bawku town, I have taken the position that the established tradition since 1931 thereabout is that the person who is Bawku Naba has the entire Kusasi area. By law and the declarations of the Supreme Court of Ghana, Asigri Abugrago Azoka is a Bawku Naba, and there cannot be any rival residing in Bawku claiming otherwise. I have impressed upon my brother the Nairi to accept that recognition by law in appreciation of the enduring national and international security interests that my brother himself is so concerned about. I have been candid with my brother the Nairi that the purported enskinment of the Nairi has come to terms with the difficulties that will pose to achieving lasting peace, which he desires. I have, from the inception, restrained both governments from effecting the arrest of Mr. Saidu Abagare out of respect for my brother the Nairi. The final resolution of the Bawku matters requires that Mr. Saidu Abagare be recalled to Nalerigu by the Nairi to be reassigned to play another traditional role at the Palace of the Nairi, assisted by the state. Alternatively, he may choose to stay in Bawku as an ordinary citizen of the community, but not to pose as Bawku Naba. The final recommendation, Mr. President, I recommend that my brother, the Nairi, accepts the laws as presently constituting Sigri Abugrabu Azoka as the chief of Bawku and head chief of the Kusasi traditional area. We chiefs, no matter how exalted, do not live above the Constitution of Ghana. And the laws due to Sigri Abugrabu Azoka must be enforced by the government of the Republic of Ghana until change in accordance with the 1992 Constitution of Abugra Azoka. This is critical to the restoration and maintenance of peace in Kusasi traditional area. I wish to have been candid with my brother, the Nairi, that the purported enskinment of Mr. Seydou Abagari as Bawku Naba cannot stand. Nairi accepts the laws as presently constituting Sigri Abugrabu Azoka as the chief of Bawku and head chief of the Kusasi traditional area. We chiefs, no matter how exalted, do not live above the Constitution of Ghana and the laws duly enacted and affirmed by the courts. Accordingly, the laws which recognizes Sigri Abugrabu Azoka must be enforced by the government of the Republic of Ghana until change in accordance with the 1992 Constitution or reviewed by the Supreme Court of Ghana. The government must enforce the laws and deal sternly with any person challenging the lawful authority of the Abugra Azoka. This is critical to the restoration and maintenance of peace in Kusasi traditional area. I wish to thank you, Mr. President, and your predecessor for reposing such confidence in me and tasking me with the mediation of this conflict with a view to finding a lasting solution. I also want to thank the Nairi and the Bawku Naba for their efforts relative to this mediation process. The various chiefs or heads of various communities whom I met in the area who also participated in this endeavor deserve positive commendation. I have come to the conclusion that the path to a lasting resolution coincides with the enforcement of the current position of the law by the laws of Ghana and by the Constitution enacted in 1992 and by the position of the Supreme Court that the matter should never be litigated before it again, as Sigri Abugrabu Azoka is the lawful chief of Bawku and the paramount chief of Kusasi traditional area. He has been a member of the National House of Chiefs for about 40 years. He has been duly gazetted. His right to rule should not be disturbed, save through a judicial and constitutional recognized process, and which, as already indicated, appears, if any, a review of the pronouncement of the Supreme Court of the Republic of Ghana, stated herein. If the pronouncement of the Supreme Court appears not clear enough, remedy may be sought, if available, for clarification of the same by the Supreme Court. Either way, Bawku and its environs will be assured of sustainable and enduring peace. Mr. President, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Mr. President, I want to suggest that I was going to meet them again. We set up a mediation process where we would, reconciliation and everything, the way things have happened, where the Peace Council, and then we nominate some lawyers from their side, from each side and others, then we form a committee to go through that. Then we start a reconciliation process. Whilst talking to them, I realized also that arms and everything were there. And all those, I spoke to them. I think we can find a way to get them to go and find a safe place for them to go and leave it. Maybe an appeasement of some 500, going, not by the government, by the National Peace Council, myself and some people, we can do that also. That I tested the pulse and I believe it can be done. So now it's up to you to implement what I have said, Mr. President. I wanted to read that because I didn't want it to come from you. for them to charge you that you've changed the report. So